Hello, hello, hello. Tag. So. Welcome. One person watching, Azeti. Hey, how's life, Azeti? So welcome to Wednesday afternoon. And I decided that I want to join this Twitch party and live streaming party. So here we are. In the meantime, in my first streams, I built a little bit of a streaming setup. And now 2 days ago, I had a little bit of a shower thought. So I bought this domain here, which is today-i-learned.dev. And in case you're hanging out on Twitter a little bit, what people do is that people share and write down their web development learnings, and as do I. So for example, you see here this is my own website, and for, I don't know, now for 3 years or something, I'm writing every time when I read something or I do something, I'm like, I didn't know this. I basically put it on my website. So, and wouldn't it be cool if, and I love it when people share these kind of things. So wouldn't it be cool if there would be a website that kind of, first of all, aggregates the learnings that people have. And I'm thinking a little bit of including something like fetching RSS feeds or something, and then showing always the latest learnings of the people that they have, because, well, why not? It's always worth sharing a lot of things. And then maybe there could be, I don't know, some way to submit learnings, share them, maybe vote for the best learnings in a given time frame. I'm not sure about that yet and where to go, but I thought that I will give it a try and just see how far I come, because now I bought this domain, and we all buy too many domains, and now I have to do something with it. So, and I want to do all this live on stream. And usually I want to stream on Tuesdays after work. Today I'm a little bit late because yesterday was a busy day. And what I would like to do is I would like to use Next.js. So in case you haven't seen or heard of Next.js, is one of these fancy and hip, whoops, let's get rid of this one. These fancy and hip React.js frameworks. So, and there are a lot of them out there these days, and usually I'm a little bit skeptical, but the one thing that kind of convinces me about Next.js, and I'm far away from being an expert here, is that they have this concept of a mixture of a static and a dynamic side. So because Next.js is built by Vercel, which is one of these new static site or static or hosters in general, and they have this idea of stale while revalidate headers. So what you can basically do is that you can deploy a Next.js site to Vercel, and then you can say, okay, always serve cached HTML data on the CDN level, but when you make a request, they will revalidate the data, and the next hit of this page will then basically be already fresh data. So, and this is why I just want to give that a try. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that at the end, but overall I think that Next.js, everybody also tells me that the development experience is super duper nice. So I would give that a try, and in the upcoming, I don't know, 90 minutes, 2 hours, I would assume that we set up Next.js 10 and then see how far we come. So if anyone has ideas on what to do with the domain today-i-learned.dev, I'm all open and up for ideas. So let's get this started. So what I'm going to do first is that I'm going to start a new Next.js project. So I'm pretty sure that there is let me just clean something up here on the other side. I'm pretty sure that there is a starter something available, something like create React app or create Next app. And I'm pretty sure that we just have to go in here and have to do something like this. Exactly. So let me just go in here, and I'm gonna go, let's make that a little bigger. And here we do this one, and I hope this is not installing for, I don't know, 10 minutes. So let's see what happens. Project name, okay. So let's go with today-i-learned.dev. Well, that looks good. So now installing a lot of dependencies using yarn and all these things. I already was once on a stream, and that this step here took literally 8 to 10 minutes. I'm not sure if I can fill this time. So let's see if I have to do a lot of random talking here. So, but what basically the command here does is that it's bootstrapping a new Next.js application, and usually this comes with all the... I got a beer. Here we go. It's just a Radler, but good enough. So it's now bootstrapping a complete application, and it should be ready to go after that one. I'm not going for full beer though. I'm going with Radler. Madalena has an idea. Cool. So what I can now do is, so the bootstrapping is done here, so I can go in here. What's your idea, Madalena? So I can go in here and I can do this. And Augustina, good choice. Not bad. So now we're in the directory here, and I'm usually an npm person for no particular reason, but let's kick off yarn dev here. And Madalena just uses my... Oh, that is great. Port 3000 is already in use. So what do I have running in the background? So what you see here, for example, I have you see it already here in this corner here, that I have basically familiar with that. So this is the streaming software that I'm using. It's Streamlabs OBS, and you see here that it has a streaming to localhost 3000. We basically see here the streaming overlay that you see live on stream. When we now type something into the chat, you will see that the websites are popping up here in the right corner. Does someone wants to type something? Just so that I can see that it's working. 5. If not, I'm gonna do it. Well, let's do it. So it's working. So when I type that in the chat, it should appear here. Here we go. So basically this localhost 3000 website running here as a Next.js application is the overlay that you see on live on stream. So the way that I did that is that I built a Next.js application that connects to the Twitch API. There is a library that is called tmi.js. It's fairly straightforward, I have to say. So you can bring that in, and then you can... Basically, this is all the code that it needs to interact with the chat. And then I have also a node service running that the camera that you see here is basically snap camera. So when you type !help into the chat, you can see all the special commands that are available, and you can directly interact with my camera on screen. So and this is the application that is running on the background on port 3000. So let's see if we can change the port that yarn dev is using here. So let's open that in VS Code. So let's see if we can change that now, because I don't want to restart the next application that is running my stream stuff here. So let's have a look here. So it's using, VS Code, come on. So it's using Next.dev. So I'm assuming that when I go in here and I grab the binary of Next, which is when you have installed it as a dependency, it's always in node modules.bin. And when let's just see here if there's dev -help. Here we go. So let's change the port here to Next.dev port 3000. Let's go with 8080. and hope that I don't have anything there. So I just changed the configuration, so I could now do yarn dev again. And with this, we're running on port 8080. And hopefully we already see our Bootstrap Next application here. Is that it already? Can we open it? Let's see. So let's go back here. We can get rid of this one. We can do localhost 8080. Welcome to Next.js. So we have some documentation, and I think that this is already coming with everything that we need. So what's that? Let's get rid of this one here. So when we now look for welcome, we have here an index page, and I assume when I just say here, hello from Twitch, that it's updating in real time. Sweet. So what do we want to do with the domain today-i-learned.dev? Should we start with fetching? Let's have a look at the directory structure of a Next app first. So what we see here is that there's a pages directory. There's a favicon. Okay. We are currently in the index page here, and we have an API directory that is a hello world. So the cool thing about Next is that we should also be able to just do this here, API/hello, and it should return us what is included here. Hello stream. Because Next.js is also, so it's kind of a static hoster. It offers you a build process to run the whole shenanigans that we do in front-end land these days, but it also offers you a quick way to bootstrap serverless functions, so you can build your own API very, very quickly. Is it possible to use Next with TypeScript? I'm pretty sure it is. I'm not going to do that because that will be embarrassing, but let's have a look. Is there something like Next.js TypeScript? To be honest, I actually expected that. Oh, basic features. To get started, run dev. Yep. Yeah, I would say it supports, I think it supports TypeScript. I honestly would have expected it to have that as a kind of a question when I bootstrap the application. But yeah, I think it's fairly straightforward to move this little code now to TypeScript. As said, I'm not going to do that though. So the cool thing about this is that we have here the good question, Renee, by the way. So the cool thing about Next or these modern frameworks is that file names and file structure kind of define how everything works. So we see here that we can have new API endpoints by adding a JavaScript file here. And just to see if everything works here, so let's just add a new file that we call, I think they are file name conventions, but we could possibly say hello.js here, and let's export something. How is it? I'm pretty sure that we can do something like this, and we do return hello world, and that should now be a hello component as a root here. So when we now go here with hello, sweet. And by calling, then everything should be prepared already. So when we have a look at the package JSON to bring down a static build, we would call next build, and that then would pre-render the HTML, and depending on how we configure things. Cool, so for now we can drop the hello here, and we're gonna go back to Next, and what we can do is, what do we have here? Let me get rid of the search and let's see what we can clean up. So there is a styles coming from somewhere, styles. So it has modular CSS. I don't want to spend too much time actually writing CSS. Maybe we could bring in Tailwind on the way, I'm not sure. So then we have a component available that is head, that is probably controlling everything that goes into the head. So let's have a look here. Oh, that is minified. Okay, so let's have a look here. So that now should have a head here. With what edit we? Title create next app. So potentially when we do here, today I learned.dev, this should also update in real time. Sweet. So what do we do with the domain? So I have a few ideas here. What we could do is really, we could first of all kind of add a list of blogs with today I learned posts, and we could fetch the RSS feeds, because old school RSS person here, and display these on the index page. This way I would have a config file right in the repository. People could add their own today I learned blogs to the application, and then it would, during build process, it would then during the build fetch the data and render a list. How does that sound? Banalina, Azzetti, René, or any other ideas what we should do here? Otherwise, I'm gonna go for that one. Sweet. So what we have to do then is, first of all, we're gonna rename the H1. Yeah, I don't want to, René, I don't want to have a, at least not initially, I don't want to have a database. So what I would do is probably, I would fetch the blog posts and titles during build time, and then I would just rebuild to today-i-learned.dev, I don't know, every second hour. And then, oh, that would be cool. Then today-i-learned.dev could have its own RSS feed maybe. I'm not sure if that is a good idea or not. And then I would do the whole, yeah, I think for that is a good approach then. And then we would have already on home something like all the latest learning from people that submit their Today I Learned RSS feeds, which then automatically updates itself. We could bring in pagination, and then maybe in the upcoming weeks what we could do is we could upvote things, downvote things. Maybe people could submit learnings. Then there would be the case where I would bring in the database. But for now, as a first step, I think it's a reasonable approach to just fetch static data for now. Also, I have to get used to so I used Next.js a few times, but yeah, I'm on the learning path here too. So let's update the H1, and then let's figure out how we can get some data. So today I learned.dev, and then we can probably remove all that stuff. So we see here already how styles are handled. So styles are imported from home. And these things here, so the classes are basically exported from the object, and I assume that they're hashed here for modular styles, that I have a cryptic class name or something. Here we go. So this way the styles are not clashing. How are the new blocks come into the site? Via GitHub. So let's do something, let's kick that off. So what I would have here is a config file. So maybe let's bring in a new file that we call config till blocks dot. No, let's go with the JavaScript file in the root, and let's do with config. And what we can do here now is module exports. Here we go, which returns an object, and then I would have here TIL RSS feeds. And here are URLs, some path, and I would read this file then out during the build process. And fetch all the articles that are included in the RSS feed, and then I would render them out. And then if people want to add their own Today I Learned blog, they could PR the repository, which I will push after the first session here today. And then their post would automatically appear on today-i-learned.dev. Cool. So to start the whole thing then, because what could we find here? Today I learned web dev. Are there maybe some blog posts or some blogs that I could fetch? So there's my own one. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, but that's a good start. So let's see. Whose website is that? That looks very ambitious, to be honest. Force Git to use. Yeah. I love these tiny tips and tricks. Okay, so let's find out if this person has a RSS feed. RSS. Adam. Here we go. Till RSS. So did Canary just crash? I'm using Canary today because I bumped the font size so that it looks good on the stream, but it looks like it didn't like that. Can I restore that? Thank you. So what was it? T.RSS. Oh, it's struggling with this RSS. Here we go. So what I'm interested in is till RSS XML. That looks good. So here we have already our first RSS feed for Today I Learned posts. So let's check out the other one. Yeah, so that is my one. Was that Today I Learned Dev? Yeah, that is my local server. Okay, and I have a feed too. So let's do two here. So and I have a feed here. Here we go. Sweet. So with this, we now have already 2 RSS feeds. And when people want to add more RSS feeds with learnings, they could PR the repository, and then it would automatically work and update the whole site. Cool. So now is the question, how do we bring this into the build? Oh, here we have another one. today-i-learned.net. Month ago. Cool. Is that a platform? Why would I log in? Is that a personal blog here, or do we see here? Are we building the same thing? 2019. A month ago. Oh, Stefan should have done his research first. Kampaka. Well, it doesn't look like it's very active. Does it have an RSS feed? Let's see. And no RSS feed. Cool. Then let's move on and let's have a look at the Next.js documentation and let's find out how we can get this data in. So what we could do here is, let's have a look. Data fetching maybe? I'm not sure if Next.js should actually handle this fetching of the RSS feeds. So what I do on my own website is that I have a quick Node.js script because usually with these kind of data sources, I don't need it to refresh and hot reload because I only want to fetch it once. I'm not sure how Next handles that. So let's have a look static tweet. So this is a third. This demo shows of next-gen static site in Next.js. The following tweet was inlined into the page index. This means no Twitter embed. That is actually very cool. So let's have a look. So what happens here is that you can use getStaticProps, and getStaticProps fetches the data and it will be rendered out later. So what we can do here is, let's have a look at the source. And here we have a function getStaticProps. Yeah, let's start with this one. And then we have a exported component, and that's pretty much it. I actually like that idea. I think that is very nice to fetch these. And maybe I'm gonna build something like that later. Cool. So what we can do now is let's export also a getStaticProps function. And where's this coming back? So you see here that this returns something like props tweet, and then it comes up in the function. So what we could do here is props, and let's just do something like const articles, and let's give it just random object, something like title, til1, and date. What is today? 2020. US versus whatever. And then let's duplicate this one. And then we can do 2 and 12. And now when we have articles, we can say getStaticProps, and that should now pop up here. So then we can remove all these things. Let's build a list and let's just see if that works. Here we go. Let's get rid of this one. Let's keep the footer for now. So what we could do here potentially is now we could render a list, and we could say articles map, and then we get out the title, and then we return a list and we render the title. So with this, I assume when we go to localhost, what's your problem? I'm missing a comma, I think. Here we go. Can I read property map articles? Well, that works great on first try. Let's have a look at another look at the Twitter example, tweet example. So what it does, fetch tweet, this is some random stuff, components. It returns props and tweet, which then comes up here with articles, props, articles. That looks pretty correct to me, to be honest. Get static props. Let's see. Data fetching. If you export an async function called getStaticProps from a page, Next.js will pre-render this page at build time using props returned by getStaticProps. The context parameter is an object. Okay, I'm not interested in this. GetStaticProps should return an object with props, revalidate, not found, redirect, yada yada yada. Simple example. We have a blog with posts. We have something that we return. Isn't that exactly what we have here? So we have articles, no typo. Okay, is there something in the console? No. So let's remove this one for a moment. seems to be async. It shouldn't really matter though. So when a function is async, it returns a promise, and even though I don't use await or something, it should resolve properly. But maybe you're right. I don't know. So let's see. Do we see something in the console? It is undefined. Did the refresh help here now? Okay, hot reloading deluxe. Okay, so didn't work. So it's not complaining that we're not using keys on React. So React needs these kind of things to keep track of the child elements. So with this, we should now have something like that. Sweet. So we will now update one of these articles. It should update it. Nice. So all that we would have to do here is read out the config, fetch RSS feeds, and then merge RSS feeds, sort them by date, and yeah, that's it, I think. That's it. Sweet. So first one's first is probably an easy one. So we can say RSS, what was it? Till RSS feeds from config. And then we have the first part done. Can I give that a check mark here? Check mark. Check. Let's see if that's the correct thing. No auto-completion, doesn't look like it. So when we do a refresh here, let's remove the articles here. Here we go. Is that logging into the console now? Yeah, okay. So this is, that is isomorphic JavaScript. So this is now running on the server side. And when I inspect the output here, I expect that this is embedded in a JavaScript payload. So when we render this with Next.js later, we will never make this computation in the client or on request. We will pre-render that beforehand so that it runs on the build process. Let's see how this works with the dev flow here, because at some point there will be a lot of requests flying, and yeah, let's see. So we have here now our list of RSS feeds. What we would do first is fetch the actual RSS feeds. Do I have a type? Feeds. Sweet. So, and then there's the question, because we're dealing with client-side and browser JavaScript, how do I fetch data in Next? Is there something available? Something like, let's have a look at the tweet example again. How do I have a fetch function that works in Node and in the client? Fetch tweet AST, where's that? Let's have a look at this one. Fetch tweet API, Twitter API. Come on, how do you make the request? Just using fetch? Import fetch from fetch. Yeah, okay. What? API. 2 levels up, fetch. API JS, 2 level up. There is no fetch. Here we go. Okay. And this is using Zeit.fetch. Let's have a look at what this is. Vercel, which was a formerly known site, they are pretty good at reinventing things, but usually I have to say that they're also they're shipping a lot of quality stuff. Optimized fetched, used for microservices. Yeah, I don't know why they did that. If they use node fetch under the hood. Okay, so hypothetically, let's go with node fetch because I don't know why this is doing here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do yarn add node fetch, and let's have a look. Because theoretically, let's see what happens. I assume that this really only runs on the server side. So, which then means that I don't necessarily need a isomorphic client-side, whatever, request method or something. So let's start the server again. So yarn, what did we call? Start or dev? Yarn dev. Yarn dev. Let's see. And now, how do we use this? Okay, let's bring it in. Import from. No. Not installed. Node fetch. Node fetch. Fetch. Oh, something. Okay. So what we could do here now is we could let's rename this to RSS feed URLs. So we're gonna go back to our config feed URLs. Probably have to restart this. And what we're gonna do is in the get static props, we're gonna grab this one. Const RSS feeds equals, I'm using promise.all here for now. If there's more things on the list, this makes a lot of, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this array of feed URLs, then we are gonna iterate over it. What we have in here is a URL, and then we're gonna fetch this URL. Can I make that an async function? I don't know. So let's do this. So for all the strings that really only include the URLs, what we're going to do is that we replace that using map with a promise from for the actual resource, and then we return fetch. Yeah, we're not dealing with JSON here. So usually what I do is fetch.json, but we're not dealing JSON here. REST JSON. Is there something else than JSON? REST text. That looks good. Return. Oh, what happened here? So response array fetch, then we fetch the URL, and then this returns a promise, and then we return .text. And then this should be an array of promises. So we can go in here, we paste it in. What's your, we're gonna do response text. And then this looks not too bad. And then we're gonna await this one. And then when we now go in here, we should maybe already see some XML in the console. So let's have a look. So I'm gonna go back to our side. I'm gonna do a refresh here, which now should take a little longer. But when we go to the const, nice. So what we do here now is already we fetch 2 RSS feeds. which is already pretty cool. And for that, just because I'm enjoying it, I can do this. So what should we do next? So with this, we now have two giant strings of XML data a little bit. So what I did recently is that I implemented this part on my own website. So it's a web ring. So basically it fetches also RSS feeds. And I did that already. And I had a little bit of library hassle. So what we can do here now is, let's see, we can go, let's go to my own website and let's open that one up. Come on. And we do code here. Okay. And here I have a node function somewhere, which is, come on. Why are you doing this? That came with a VS Code update, I think. So here we have, let's have a look. Jumping through projects. Okay, so in my website, I have something like scripts. It's Feedly data, I think. Yeah, okay. So what I do is I have a parser here. Parse OPML. Let's have a look. Node. No, OPML was the format that Feedly returned. So what I do on my side is that, let's have another look. So I have this page here, and basically this is all the RSS feeds that I use in Feedly. So every time that my website rebuilds, then it fetches the feeds that I have in Feedly and then fetches the RSS feeds of these subscribed feeds. So I think that's the wrong one. What we're dealing with is RSS URL parser. Let's see, RSS URL parser. What is that? Oh, look at this. A simple Node.js module to parse an RSS feed and return an array of JSON objects. Well, that looks fabulous. Let's go for that one. And I don't need to do anything here. So let's close that one. We don't need that anymore. And the cool thing about this is that I used that already and I know that it works. At least it works once. So let's add this one. Here we go. And then it should be something like this. Okay. So let's go. Okay, we don't need this anymore. And instead of fetch, maybe we can drop fetch. Then we can do return parser. And then we do, what was it? Parser, okay. So we're gonna do import parser from, what was the name? RSS URL parser. Not there yet? Is it still installing? Failed. The engine node is incompatible with this module. Expected version 12. What? Package JSON. So you can define in the package JSON what node versions should be supported. And this person here. Alex, why should this only be working in Node.js 12? So let's have a look what the current release line is. So can I ignore that warning? Let's see if we can just ignore it. I would assume. Yeah, should I go for? I don't think it's the problem of node modules. So I think the problem is that the package that I want to use defines node 12 as the required node version. And as you see here, very, very tiny, is that I'm on node 15. So I'm on the cutting edge side here. So let's see if we can ignore that somehow. Or I'm downgrading node, or I'm switching to NPM. Maybe I should have done that in the first place. Let's see, ignore version. Yarn, ignore node version. That's exactly what I want to do. Ignore engines. Here we go. 40 minutes in and already starting the shady stuff here. Not gonna fix that now. Does it work now? Looks like it. So let's do yarn dev, and then we can go back here. Theoretically, we could drop node fetch for now because didn't end up using this. So we can drop it from here. And then we have a parser. So let's log out our RSS feeds. Is that running now? Yeah. So when we now go today-i-learned again, we do a refresh here. What is that? My domain RSS? Do I have that in the config? No. So what we want to do here is we want to pass the URL, and actually we can make that a little nicer here, so we can get rid of a few things so that it's nice to read. Something like this. That looks good. So let's try that one again. Let's have a look at the... Oh, I love that already. Okay, so here we have now 2 RSS feeds in JSON format with dates. Oh, that is already cool. Oh, I love that. So theoretically, so what I want to do first. So what will we do first? First of all, I'm gonna save my future self a little bit of time because this will now only get slower and slower and slower and slower. And what was written here? This tempers temporarily what? Oh, what's the alternative for p-limit? So what I'm looking for is, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just iterating over this area and then I'm mapping it to promises. This will lead eventually to maybe hundreds of requests flying at the same time. So what we actually want to do is we want to always do, I don't know, 4 requests. Then when run resolves, we want to do the next one and the next one and the next one until we're done. But it looks like, what's up with Sintreson? Usually I use this package. I would love to read this complete message here. It cannot be just... Should we use PQ? Or maybe you should do that later. PQ concurrency 1. Okay, I'm tabling that. I don't want to read about this. So let's add a to-do here. Fix that hundreds of requests are going in parallel. Sweet. So what we have here right now is already the two RSS feeds in JSON format. So what we could do is we could just so is that now, what do we have here? Do we have here an array of arrays? Or how is that structured? Let's see. Well, it's probably, here we go. So here it starts. Oh no, this is the RSS text. So we have an array of arrays. Okay. So let's see. What do we do with this? So this is an array. Oh, it's already a little tired. I'm a little tired here already. I just want to join the arrays. Can I spread these? Like this? Does that work? Let me prototype that. So I'm gonna do canary. Sometimes it's the little things that are a little bit tricky. So what I'm doing here is that I have an array of arrays. 3, 4, 6. And I would like, can I call flat on that? Nice. Oh, I love that. So what we want to do is here, we can just call flat on that. And with this, we have already 2 more checkboxes. Fetch RSS feeds done, merge RSS feeds hopefully done. And then this is already articles. And then we would have to sort them, but we can do that later. Okay, so when we now go back here, maybe we already see something. I'm gonna do a refresh. Okay, what are we having here? Object date cannot be serialized as JSON. So I assume when we do new date to string or type of only gives object, right? Type of, yeah. Okay, I assume that in these arrays that there are date objects instead of date strings. So let's have a look. So we have this body here. Let's have a look. How do we find that out the best way? The best way is maybe to do, let's have a look at the first article. Here we go. Let's do a refresh here. So this console log should now appear in my terminal. Let's clean that one up and let's do a refresh here. So here we have the first article. So it has a title, it has a description. Title, RSS link, content. And these are date objects, huh? Hey, thanks for joining. Kekos Slavak Muhabit Kuzo. I apologize for pronouncing that most likely wrong, but happy to have you. So I'm pretty sure that when we do, I'm pretty sure because these are highlighted here in pink right now, that we're dealing with date objects, and date objects are not greatly to serialize. So what we would have to do is we flatten that. and let's just clean up some data here so that we can serialize it further and then we can move forward. So what we can do here is that we just grab the title and we return the title, because this is everything that we have in our rendering function right now anyways. So when we do this, here we have already all the Today I Learned posts of 2 RSS feeds. So if someone just joined, we have here a config file that defines RSS feeds of Today I Learned blocks. So if you have any Today I Learned blocks or something, shoot them my way or paste them into the chat. And then we can add them there. So what I should probably do now that there are some, let me just move up the, does that work? Let's see. Here we go. Cool. So with this, we can move on. But let me do the mapping inside of the return, because I would like to still be able to log the available data. So what we can do here now is, oh no, this is actually not what I want to do. I want to have this here. Articles map. No? Yep. Yeah, so what we should do is, René, I think that you're right. What we should do is that we should sort them right afterwards. And then here in this mapping, it's not really, yeah, it's not great because we're iterating over things multiple times. But I think you're right there. So I have a curly here too much or not enough. So what's the problem? Oh, maybe it looks good. So let's do this sorting next. So we, at this point, what we do is we have these articles, which are RSS feeds in JSON format. Then we're flattening everything because it was an array of arrays. And what we can do now is we can do sort. And I'm not looking up the documentation, so let's have a look here. And then we do, does anyone remember, was it oh, maybe it's still in the console. So it was a pub date. Well, let's see how this behaves in the streams, in the different RSS feeds, if they all, okay. So let's go for pub date. I don't know, a pub date, and it should be a date bigger than B. Oh, okay. I always use the ternary for this, like -1, +1. Then I can actually say, thank you, René, here we go. So this is what you're saying, I think. A, B, this one should be gone. All right, and then we can, then we should have it sorted. So we should have a new, a check mark here. So and then we should pass down the date, and then we do, let's do a little bit of prototyping here. So yep, a equals new date, and then we do a, oh, which one do we choose? I'm always just picking a random one. To GDM string, no. To UTC string, no. I'm just looking for something that gives me a to ISO string. That looks good. And then we do substring from 0, length 8, 10. That looks good. So what we should be should be able to do is we should go in here and we map the date to ISO string. We get it here. And then we would have articles, and in our mapping function we now have a date available. And then we could just log that out for now. Well, that was a little bit of ground here right now. Okay, let's see. So what we have here now is when we do a refresh, okay, so I think the two RSS feeds are different. We have to pubdate. Is pubdate an RSS thing? Let's see how many different RSS feeds are out there. So let's try that again. I think we have to have a look at the RSS feeds. So let's have a look at this one. And let's have a look at my own one. I hope that I'm not messing it up here. So let's have a look. Can clean up some things here. We don't need this one. We don't need this one. This one. This one. I still like the tweet example. I think that was cool. So what we have here, we have title, description, pub date is available here. And it is available 126 times. Okay, come on, Stefan. Do you have it in your RSS feed? Ach, scheiße. I've updated. So Maya's. What's the standard format feed? Is there a spec or something? RSS feed spec. But I think that it should have a pub date, huh? So title, link, description, pub date. Stefan. Should I fix that very quickly? Let me have a look if I can fix my own stuff for a moment. So I'm going back to my website. I'm gonna open that one up. Now I'm showing even messier code here. So this is an 11 site. So there should be now a template for RSS. Yep, this one. So when we have a look here, title, link. So what we want to add actually is pub date, pub date. So and then we potentially would only need to do this. Well, updated is also not very well. I'm not handling that very well here. Good call. pub date. All right, cool. So what I'm gonna do here is, first of all, I'm gonna start Netlify menu bar again, and I'm just gonna push it, and then we're gonna see if this actually helps with my other project. So let me do, yeah, site feeds till pub date, post fields date, yep, pub date on stream. So pushing that to get that, what? GG push. Here we go. So in case you're a Netlify user, you will now see that this little thing here will hopefully turn busy in a second. So I built this little tool, and it did. The notification just showed up on the other screen. So I built this little helper tool. So when I do things, so that I can monitor how long the build on Netlify takes. So what you see here, this is basically how it looks. You have a little bit of menus. I see all my Netlify sites in here, and it's pulls Netlify all the time. And then I can be very, very sure when, or I get a notification when a build is done. For my personal stuff, I found that very helpful. So maybe if you're a Netlify user, I'm using that for, when was my last commit? I'm using that now for 2 years, basically every day, and it works very well for me. So let's see. Time to open the second beer then, I guess. I will be back in 10 seconds because I need an opener. All right, it is processing already and live. So this means when I do danke, when I now do a refresh here, we should have a pub date, which looks good. So with this, we potentially can go back to the stuff that we actually wanted to do. Let's do a refresh here. Well, that turns out great. So we have to, do we have to restart? No, it doesn't look like it. So we can get rid of my own stuff. Is it still logging to the console? It is. So when we look here, we have pub date, pub date. Pub date, pub date. So it is there, at least for a few posts. And this is my stuff. Is it not available for the other one? So let's see. So that's the other one, and the other one has HTML. Okay, the other one doesn't have dates, or just a few ones. Should we filter that out? I mean, if it doesn't have a date, then we cannot sort them. So let's do another iteration over the whole data. So let's do pub date, return. Oh, I did it again. Pub date, return pub date. And some parentheses here, some parentheses there. Cool. So let's try that one. So let's filter out everything that has no date. Okie dokie. Is that sorted? What are we looking at? 23, 2015, 17. Yeah, nice. All right, now we have 2 RSS feeds. And let's just flip these around. I assume that when we flip that around, so the order will be chronological. JavaScript ORM sucks. Okay. Nice. So JavaScript CRM sucks. So what should we do next? I would assume that we could have how do we do that next? Should we have something like several pages of till posts, or should we so that we have, I don't know, page 2, page 3, page 4, and then we just show the TIL posts for now in a pagination? Or should we style them already? Or should we go some complete different direction? So with this, I think this job is done here. I think there are two main to-dos here. So first is that this is currently working for 2. we can do the pagination, but thanks for hanging out, René. And or should we do what did I say? There should be something like a development experience that only fetches 2 feeds or something, because this will potentially go slower, which is not a big problem when it runs during the build process and stuff, but for development, I would like to keep it snappy. So if we're not doing UI stuff, then let's have a look at pagination and how we can actually build some routing here. So what we can do is we can go to the Next.js docs and let's figure that one out. So I know that there is a convention pages. This is something what we're looking for. So it's posts 1. How would we do this? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new page. Pages, posts ID. Okay. So what we're looking for is this basically. So let's create something new. Or we can actually do exactly the same thing. And we don't call it ID, we call it page. Or should there be a page in there? Something like that. Let's go with this one first. So what we can do here now is we can, first of all, I think that we can grab everything more or less from this one. So let's bring this one in. We're gonna do this. And then this is missing an import here, so parser is missing. Here we go. And it's missing the config, which is now in a different directory, like this. Oh, so much stuff is missing. Okay. Oh, I could have taken everything except the styles. Oh my god. Cool. So, and now what I actually only want to do is I want to have a link here. Add a link to, what do we have? Posts 1 or something. Cool, then we can drop all the rest. This is gone anyways here. Sweet. And with this, we should have a new index route. Let's see where we are here. So here we have, okay, here we have our thing here already. And theoretically, when we go now to posts 2, get static prop paths is required for dynamic. Okay, so we're missing something here. Okay, export Okay, it will need this function. So the way this usually works with these frameworks is during build time, you have to tell them what routes will actually be available. And it looks like Next does that via this exported function. Back in the data fetching. Return paths, params. Yeah, I'm not sure I get that here from the example. If a page has dynamic routes and uses getStatic props, it needs to define a list of paths. Aha, okay. So this, yeah, let's copy the whole thing. I'm digging that this is just function. So what we're looking for here is paths. What should be params in this case? This probably. So the parameters for this will be page 1, page 2, page 5. Okay, let's get rid of all these. And then let's update these. That's absolutely not final yet. So let's see what happens here. Fallback, true, false. We don't care. I don't know what fallback means in this case. So with this, we should be able to access that. Did I miss something? No. The fallback key must be returned from getStatic. Okay, we have to check what fallback does. Fallback. The object returned by must contain a Boolean fallback key. If fallback is false, then any path not returned by will result in a 4-4. You can do this if you have a small number. Yeah, let's go with 4-4 now. Whatever. We can fix that later. Sweet. So let's see what happens here now. Oh. So I have to clean up still some styling that is hanging around here. Let's see if, oh no, that's not gonna work. Okay. If I would be a super duper editor master, how would I do this now? How do I jump to the next curly? Oh, but this should actually... Did I get all of them? Nice. Multiple cursors for the win. Okay. So, cool. We're back here. So, and it looks like that when we now do page 3, page 4, this should work up to the point of 5. And then when we go with 6, it should redirect us to a 4-4 or something. Nice. Again. So I actually didn't jump through the brackets. So what I did was Command D, right? So multiple cursors, Command D, bam, 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 bam. Then I went one back. Oh no, actually to the beginning of class name. And then I pressed Option. So I'm on a Mac, right? So I pressed Option right to jump per word. And yeah, now I'm already messed up, but okay, let's do that again. So I selected all curlies, Command D, Command D, Command D. Then with Option left, I went to the beginning of class name. And then with Shift Option right, I did it like this. Here we go. Oh no, I completely messed it up. Okay, last try, yeah. So it works once. So Command D, Command D, Command D. Here we go. Yeah, sweet. Okay, so what would we do here? So I think that there is no way of fetching less data in the get static props function, because we always are fetching all the articles from all the RSS feeds. So, but what we should do probably, get static props probably gets an argument or something. So let's have a look at where we can get the context and the context params. This is what we're looking for. So this is invoked with context. So I assume that we can do params here. And then how do we do this? Okay, we're just gonna start with one right now. So then we get params. So I assume that when we log out params here, and I don't think that I'm still logging out the, oh yeah, this is still a 4.4, right? So params. So when I now go to my terminal, let's clean that up. Let's do a refresh here. Let's go back here. Page 1, okay. So what we now would have to do is, let's go to the beginning here, and then let's say const posts per page. Let's go with 10 for now. And then we would do, I would have to untangle this all a little bit. So there's way too much unreadable stuff going on, but I will keep it for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to filter, sort, and then we're going to do slice or splice. We will find out in a second what we should do. And then we do start, end. Okay, so it will be const page number equals params page, and I'm very dirtily casting this just like this, and then it will be slice the beginning of a specified origin. So page 1, page number -1 multiplied by page posts per page, and then the end of the whole thing is page number multiplied by posts per page. And with this we should already be ready to go. Let's see. So when we refresh this, I'm expecting only to see 10 posts, 0 posts. Well done, Stefan, well done. Yeah, that's a splicer, right? Brackets around something. Ah, good call. Good call. Oh, I think that is already Punkt vor Strich, exact. I think that's already pretty cool. So let's see. Oh, I love that. That's already pretty nice. Sweet. So this is this. So now we have routing here already. And what we would have to do is, so what I would like to do is kind of do all this stuff here outside of get static props and get static paths, because I don't want to do it several times here. because I don't know how Next handles this whole thing. Is there something that is, because it will maybe call it twice then, which it doesn't necessarily has to do. So get static props, fetch data at build time, then get static path. Okay, so let's just maybe create a function and then whatever. Okay, so function get RSS articles. And it's definitely an async function. And then we can basically grab this stuff and return it. Yeah. Then we could say in here, so articles will be await get RSS articles. And then we do the slice on this one like this. Let's clean that one out. Yeah. And then we could use the same thing here in get static paths, because this is what we currently did, is that we hard coded all the pages. So what we want to do here is basically the same thing. So we do const articles equals await articles, and then we do articles, and then what we want to do is we want to split this whole thing. So paths, so it will be const pages equals articles divided by post per page. Let me just prototype that. So how would we do this? So we have 53 divided by 10 makes 5.3, which means that we need 6 pages. And that is math floor. Nope, math. Roundup JavaScript. Seal. Okay. So what would you do is math seal this. What's your problem here? Articles? Oh, that's some TypeScript stuff or something. Okay. And with this, we could now do something like how to create an array something something. So we could do a new array. This accepts something like this, but this is now a wholly array, so we can fill that with strings. And then we could map over it. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna go in here, we can do this, and this is then called with nothing and an index. And then for every nothing and index, we return this, and this is basically index plus 1. So what I'm doing here is I divided cool. Something is missing. New array, fill, map. Some curly is missing. Still. Okay. Blue, blue, fill, map. Oh, I have to format that. So this needs a parentheses first. Like this? No. Okay, let's untangle this. Fill, map, params, and a comma. Here we go. So what I did is that I fetched all the articles here, then I divided it by the posts per page. This then gives something use array. Yeah, correct. Use array pages, and with this we should now, let's see if that works. With this we could now go back. Let's see how many page paths. Did it remove the? Invalid array length. Let's maybe grab that one out and say, do it like this, const paths, new array pages, and then we can do this. Let's see. All right, let's see what's going on. Invalid array length. So what's going on? That looked actually very straightforward. Not a number. It's article's length. Here we go. Length. We're that close, friends. We're very close. A required parameter page was not provided as a string. Return params page index. So let's have a look at how paths looks like here. Hey Niels, how's life? And what we're going to do is, what do we have here? We have params. So we have already, well, that looks pretty decent to me. Happy to hear that, Niels. We are just doing some fancy array manipulation here. And some Next.js coding. So what's the error? The actual error. Let's see. A required parameter page was not provided as a string. In gets that it has to be a string? What? Let's do it like this then. What type is pages? Here we go. So theoretically, we're pre-generating now already 20 dynamic routes. So we have here number 1. Oh, I didn't want to make someone, I didn't want to make people watch me struggling with TypeScript. So, but theoretically, this now should go up to 19. And then to 20. And then 21 will give us a 4-4. Sweet. Whoops. Nice. So with this, what we have is that we have dynamic routes that paginate all posts that are... Okay, let's start from scratch. So what we did is that we defined a config file that holds RSS feeds for today-i-learned posts because I bought the domain today-i-learned.dev. And as a first thing is that we would have a kind of a today-i-learned aggregator that shows things with dates and titles and links. And then we already now have pagination going. So what we are aggregating here basically is different Today I Learned posts that are out there in the wild. And this is done with a dynamic page route that fetches all the posts from the RSS feed and then defines using get static props the posts that are available, and with get static paths we're defining what routes or paths should actually be available. So with this, I think we're almost close to the daily goal. What do you think, friends? I mean, I could still add some buttons, but I think it's 10 past 10. I don't think that I will add another bigger topic here. So, but for the next steps, what I would do is I would probably style that up a little bit. And then, what do you think of having maybe a quick and easy voting component so that people could maybe log in and then vote certain posts? So we could have two listings, which would be chronological order, and then we could do vote by popularity. Style is just fine. Yeah, I would like to have it a little bit nicer looking. Yeah, so then we have a plan for Tuesday. So I would say maybe we do the login then, or maybe let's see what we do. Maybe it looks a little social login. Yeah, we could do social login or auth0. Yeah, for login, we could use auth0. I did that once. It worked okay-ish, I would say. Social login would work too. But you get social login with auth0 for free. And for storing the votings, I would just give, I don't know, FaunaDB a try, and not because I think it's great, but I read a lot about it and I have no clue how it works for real. So we could do something with serverless functions, FaunaDB, and some GraphQL. I think that would be fun, and probably I will fail with it. Firebase. I have to admit, I actually never used Firebase. So maybe we want to give Firebase a try. Can we connect Firebase easily with users, Niels? I assume so. Well, then we have it. Then we do some sort of login with some login provider, and then we use Firebase, and then we can decide. Oh, and then it could actually be cool because we could render the chronological order statically, and the Firebase stuff we could render that on request. That would be nice. Then we would have a completely kind of mix experience between pre-rendered HTML and dynamically rendered pages, which I think is always kind of the holy grail. Cool. But with this, thank you very much for hanging out, friends. I will trigger my last command here, because today I learned how to sort dates a little bit nicer and properly. And a little bit of celebration. And with this, thank you for hanging out with me. And I'm gonna stream the next time, hopefully on Tuesday night. And see you next time.